Hi, I'm Johnny, and this is Comics Altruism. And I tried recording a live video. My link was dead. My stream key that YouTube gave me earlier, for some reason, it just didn't want to work this time. So I'm just recording this video on the fly, and no edits or anything. I want to get it posted as quickly as possible, so it's almost like it was live. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, we're doing three things tonight. First thing is we are announcing how much June's charity was able to earn. That was Angel Hair for Kids, and we earned $105.50. Big shout out to Josh R. Comics and Gaming for that. Also, shout out to Farley's Nerd Cave, Dressier's Comics and Things, and to my mom, because the woman that I mentioned in last month's video, that was my mom, and she was buying comics for my dad, just to give him like a stroll down memory lane, I guess, as a Father's Day present. So, yeah, she was responsible for some of that too. Also, I waived my initial investment, you know, those calculations that I make, the cost coefficient, as I call it, to assess how much of the money I rake back in based on my initial investment. I'm just like, I don't do enough anyway, so yeah, I'll just waive that. And I mean, if we talk about like thousands of dollars or whatever, then obviously whoever's running Comics Altruism has to kind of follow that protocol that I set out, but I'm just choosing not to. So, 105 bucks and 50 cents, not too shabby. And it grew a lot quicker than I was expecting it to as well. So, thank you to everyone who bought comics. The next one is we are going to draw July's charity of the month, and unfortunately the way that I've got all this set up, because I'm recording instead of going live, I'm just gonna have to recite the nominations that everybody has here. So we're starting off with, and you're just gonna have to trust me when I do the randomization. I'm legit. Alright, so we got four-way flashers on comics with CIBC Run for the Cure. We've got Pocan Joe with American Legion. Comic Jabroni with Wounded Warrior Project. We got Mr. Miracle Comics with Calgary Wildlife Rehabilitation Society. Thoro Kuboro, again, he's in this list, although he didn't actually specify his charity. But because he's having an auction for St. Jude Children's Hospital this month, I'm using that as his charity. And then doubling up with R. Wheatley 0206, also St. Jude Children's Hospital. We got Josh R. Comics and Gaming with Marymount Family Support and Crisis Center. Not gonna lie, I didn't have time really to check it out. I mean, I did, and I forgot. So I will look into that as soon as I'm done recording this. But I know it's for like families in crisis and stuff. Obviously, because that's right there in the name. Okay, we got The Comic Collector with Hand of Hope. Pages, Films, and Plastics with All Animal Rescue Limited. We got Ruben Nieves with South Florida Multiple Sclerosis Charity. We got Metarog with Little Pink Houses of Hope. Farley's Nerd Cave with Gary Sinise Foundation. Take the Time Collectibles is another example of somebody who just kind of let me at it with, you know, whatever charity I wanted to pick for him. So I chose a different one of his charities from his Road to 100, or no, his 100 subscriber contest. And so I chose Hero Initiative this month for that. We got Kate W. with Gift of Baby Elena, Alyssa C. with Happily Ever Esther Farm Sanctuary, and Mark W. with The Inn, Oxford County's homeless shelter. So that's everybody. And, something else I should bring up before I do this whole roll the dice thing. Josh R. Comics and Gaming had a different charity last month. And then he changed it to this month's with the whole Marymount thing. That's completely cool. It's also cool, while we still have so few people putting in nominations, if I have picked your name, even though it's not on the list, so we got Erica and Barb W. Those were the first 2 months' charities. Feel free to throw another one in. I mean, if it gets big enough that we want to be fair with the names who haven't been picked, then we'll put the kibosh on that. But for now, change your charities at will. If I didn't name your charity in that list just now, it's probably because of YouTube's comments problem that they've been having lately. every video you have to refresh the list. You have to go to recent first in order to see all the comments that have been left, because you're supposed to be notified if you have your settings set as such. And yeah, a couple of those comments I didn't even receive. I went through every single one of my videos and I found, I don't know, 5 to 10 comments that I hadn't seen. So I probably looked like a dick just not responding or anything. So I got to the bottom of that. If I didn't say your name, just let me know. All right, let's randomize this. I'm not going to bother with the whole how many times. I'm just going to press it once. All right, we got St. Jude Children's Hospital. The name was Thurocue Borough, but our Wheatley also had the same charity. So I'm going to say congrats to both of you. They're going to earn a lot of money this month, because as we saw from, I think it was last month or 2 months ago in the Brain Research Foundation Thurocue Borough auction, they raised a ton of money. So I'm imagining that it's going to be the same this month with that. Let's hope that I can, contribute a little bit. So, yeah, I guess that's it for that. 2 things down. The third thing, I'm going to try to keep this brief, even though I got a pile of comic books here to show for my contest. And it's a Road to 200, but I've given it a nickname of Pick 3. And the Pick 3 part is what I want you to do is to pick 3 YouTube channels that you want to shout out. But what you're going to do with each of those channels is you're going to give the person a superpower. And I myself prefer to give people useless superpowers, so I'll give you an example here. I'll just shout out the 3 people in the YouTube community who bought comics from me last month. So we'll start with Josh R, Comics and Gaming. I thought of these just before I started trying to record my live stream there. So his special ability is that he can see like thermal energy, and he can assess it within like a terrifyingly accurate degree. So he would be great as like a food service inspector or an agent of some kind. So he can look into a walk-in freezer and be like, that walk-in freezer is at minus 16.5 degrees Celsius, so you're good. But you shouldn't be working with a fever. And another person's like, I don't have a fever. And he's like, yes, you do. I can see it. So yeah, and if he's like looking at a steam table or something and he notices that it's sitting at like 130 degrees Fahrenheit or something, he's like, all this food's got to go. So that's his special talent. With Dressir, or Dritcher, it's Richard backwards anyway. Richard, his ability is to regrow his bones. So like say he loses some teeth, they grow back. If he cuts off a finger, the finger grows back. However, it's just the bone that grows back. It's not the flesh or like the sinew or the ligaments or anything. So basically it would be this grotesque just bone that's there, and he can't really control much of it because a lot of this stuff is, anyway, not going into anatomy. He could wear a glove like Luke Skywalker. If he got his foot cut off, that's actually still pretty helpful. He'd limp, but the foot as a stabilizer, right? So it's kind of a neat power. It's just not really a regenerative power like most people are used to. And then Farley, or Chris from Farley's Nerd Cave, his special ability is that he can see into the future, but he only has a grade for how the future is going to be. So like if you're like me and you dread public things like parties or whatever, and it always ends up being better than what you thought, you can have your grade of what you expect it to be at like a 2.5 or something, and then he just steps in and he's like, no, it's like a near mint. It's like a 9.4, this party you're going to. You're going to have a blast and you don't even know it. But then he can also warn you like, that party's going to be a 1.8. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be bad. Like you might want to avoid it. So that's Farley's power. So you see what I just did there? And it doesn't have to be channels that are struggling or starting. Like I would probably do that just because, but then there's all those channels that support other channels who are just coming up, and like some of the bumps that I've seen just from having some of these big names shout me out, it's awesome. So like they deserve their credit too. So pick whoever you want, give them whatever power you want, even if it's like a serious power, like give Metarog super strength or something. Be creative, but it's mostly for the shout out factor. Now, what I've done with the second half of the pick 3 of that is that I've got, I want to say 12 prizes here, and you get to pick 3 of those if you win. Just to clarify, you pick 3 of the prizes, even though it's like multiple comics in most of the prizes. You pick 3 of the prizes out of the 12. And depending on participation, I might do like a runner-up. So the first place gets the first 3 that they want, and then whatever's left over, the runner-up gets to pick 3 from that. But we'll see how that goes in the future. All right, and some of this stuff I just picked up, so you might actually kind of think I'm crazy with some of the stuff I'm putting up. It's not like you're not going to find any Amazing Fantasy 15 or anything, but there's some pretty cool stuff. All right, so prize number 1 is a collection of Lois Lane. That one is number 48. Give me a second here. All right. And number 80. And number 84. So that's prize number 1. I'm going to switch this up here. I think. Yeah. All right. Then this one is for Fantastic Four fans. We've got Marvel 2-in-1 Annual number 1. And whenever I do a contest update, I'll let you know what I assess these grades to be. Because like this one, for instance, Marvel's Greatest Comics number 23. That's pretty awesome, right? But there's this tape up here. And there are flaws with like any of these, what you would consider awesome high value things. There's always something wrong with them, which is probably why I was able to afford them in the first place. Marvel's Greatest Comics number 33. So that's prize number 2. Next up, we're going prehistoric, because I was able to get Khazar the Savage number 1, Khazar number 2 from Silver Age. We got, I'd never seen this before, but I found it today. Kong the Untamed. That's number 5. And then, kind of in honor of the purchases that Farley made, because he just had that video all about Turok. It was pretty awesome. And then he bought a couple more comics from me, so he's rounding out his Turok collection anyway. Turok, Son of Stone, number 61. This one's a little wavy. I'm going to give it a press. Not that anyone would necessarily choose that prize, but throwing it out there. Alright, and we got some X-Men number 1s. That's just, everybody's got that. I think there were like 1 million copies printed, but 2099, number 1. And this is the good one. Amazing Adventures, featuring the X-Men, number 1. That's a reprint of the first issue, and for some reason it goes for a pretty penny. I think it's from 1979, so that's probably got something to do with it. And if it's not already evident, I'm trying to give the best variety that I can, so whoever wins, they will find something that they want. So the next prize is this Ghost Rider run. It's only the first 6 issues, but I really dig that art, and it's cohesive. As I hold up more of these, you'll notice there's kind of a thematic color style to it. And these are by Gerard Way, I think. Yeah, Gerard Way. Recently made famous by the Umbrella Academy, I believe. If I'm wrong, you don't have to call me an idiot. Alright, number 6. So 6 of those is the next prize. And I think next time when I do like a refresher on all of these, I'll probably put up above like prize number 1 so that there's no confusion about where they bleed into each other. This is a Silver Age Archie sampler pack. So we got Betty and Veronica, number 128. We got Archie and Me, number 12. We've got Jughead, number 98. I'd never seen this either, but Captain Hero, that's Jughead as Captain Hero, number 6. And lastly, Laugh, 207. there are a bunch of other Archie titles from that period that I just didn't pick up, partially because I didn't want that stack to be whatever they were doing, like 12 different things at the time. There was Pep, it doesn't matter. Anyway, all right, Tales of the Green Lantern Corps is the next prize, and it's all 3 issues, and they're looking pretty pristine. And number 3. Pretty neat. That's another one that surprisingly goes for a pretty penny when they're in near mint condition. Yeah, these are really cool too. Alright, so I've got Adventure Comics. This is quite the read too. Like if you pick this prize, if you win, you've got something on your hands. So that's $4.59, $4.61, and lastly $4.64. Then this one's really just random. I tried to make it thematic, as you probably noticed. The theme, I guess, for here is like there's supernatural. I was gonna say indie title, but there is a Marvel book in here. All right, so the Phantom number 32. That's Silver Age. Got Mandrake the Magician number 1. That's not like the first appearance or anything. This is the second run from a different publishing company. I forget who did the first one. And this, Where Monsters Dwell, number 4. However, down there. That's why I'm going to tell you the grades in the next time when I do the refresher. And then War Theme, War is Hell, number 2. Number 3. I like these busy covers, because you can barely see the damage with all of the stuff going on in the artwork. And number 5. I also don't mind getting lots where there are missing issues because it gives me something to hunt for. I almost appreciate having holes in the collection. All right, and then for the Western fans, we've got Weird Western Tales, 23, 24, and 25. And I do have the first full Jonah Hex story and / cover appearance and the second one, but those are a pretty penny, and I think it's probably better if I sell those. If my supply starts to dry up a little bit, I'm going to start selling from my personal collection, but that's for the future. All right, and the very last one here is, we've got Adventure into Fear, number 13, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Adventure into Fear number 10 was the first appearance of Man-Thing, and then he had a 10-issue run on that before Morbius took over. Then Man-Thing got his own comic, so I guess I would make this the 3rd or 4th appearance of Man-Thing. And then Werewolf by Night, not the one you want, it's number 18. It's still a pretty fun read. I like all those horror titles from back in the day. And the last one from that prize is Hulk 377 first printing. All right, so rewind that and start picturing what you would want to pick if you won the contest. Shout out 3 channels, give them superpowers, and pick 3 of the prizes if you win. All right, thanks for watching. Sorry about the live stream. Thanks for coming out, those of you who did and waited very patiently for me. It just wasn't happening. All right, have a good night. Bye.